Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About Houses. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, today we are going to talk about homeownership rates by state. Very interesting. So we're going to start with a chart. Is there anything else we need to do before we start?
We missed you.
We missed you. Yeah, we've been super busy. Okay. All right. Here's the chart. Okay. This is called scatter plot. It's the technical name. If you go to MBA school, get your MBA, you get ridiculous stuff like that, what these charts are called. Okay. Now, what this chart is on the left-hand column, that's income. So it goes starts down there at the bottom, which is like under 50K, which is Mississippi, which you can see has the lowest income of all the states. And then Massachusetts, Connecticut have the highest, close to 90,000. And then everything else is sort of in the middle. And then the states where you see the dot, now there's New York and California over there on the left, and they're right above us. If you're looking at our little picture here, they're the ones above us. They don't have a dot. I don't know why. They don't put a dot on New Jersey either. But anyway, and then there's a bunch of states in here that don't have dots. So I don't know. I guess those states aren't very important. Nevada is the most important state there is, probably. You know, it's the keystone. It holds the West Coast together. If you took Nevada out, we touch all the West Coast states, they would just fall off and sink into the ocean. So, Juana, this is really weird. So, West Virginia and Mississippi, and okay, in the bottom of the chart, the bottom shows the percentage of people who are homeowners in the state. So you got, it looks like New York at about 53%, California 56%, and then there's this, and then the next state's Nevada, right? But it's pretty much New York, California, way over there on the left side of the chart all by themselves, and then over on the right side you got West Virginia, Mississippi, which are the two poorest states for income, but then they have the highest home ownership. And then on the other side, New York, California, like super relatively high income states, are in the top 5, and then they have the worst. So let's talk about this in general. What are some factors that make up this home ownership rate?
So I think, we can talk about economic factors like supply and demand, right? So if wages are higher, then there's more demand for people to work. So if you have more demand for people to work, then you can extrapolate that there's more demand for housing too. So that would correlate. You can talk about you can talk about population density. So California is a populous state. New York is a populous state. So we can talk about those. We can talk about those states, especially when we talk about like New York City and Los Angeles, San Francisco, and places like that. You're talking about urbanization. So urbanization obviously makes real estate more expensive because you have high density of people in a small geographic area. So again, you've got supply and demand, so you've got that kind of going on. And then you're looking at states with the lower income and the lower home prices, which again, that's also supply and demand, right? Because the lower wages means that there's not as much demand for workers. That's why, they can pay lower wages maybe. And then you've got the same thing on home ownership side. There are not as many people searching out for homes, so maybe you can justify lower prices for homes. But there are a lot of other nuances, right? So this is just kind of being very simplistic about it. But I mean, it certainly holds water. I'm not suggesting that those are the only ones, and that's my point, that there are a lot of other nuances. You also have states like Nevada, right? So Nevada is an interesting state. People sometimes say that Nevada, well, it's just Las Vegas, and that's the whole state.
Sure
because there you go.
Where else is there?
Exactly.
It's Nevada. Las Vegas. When they say Las Vegas, Nevada, what they mean is Las Vegas is Nevada.
Right.
Yeah.
So because Las Vegas encompasses most of the state's population, so it has an outsized weight when it comes to homeownership, right? So again, Las Vegas is, while you may not think of it that way, it is landlocked because the land around us is owned by the federal government. So we do have a limited amount of space. So that contributes to the scarcity of land. That means that's pushing up real estate prices more. Nevada also has some other things going on. So one of the things, for example, that we have going on is we have a very transient population, right? So because we have a lot of people coming and going, then maybe people don't want to put down roots, right? Because they're only going to be here for a while. So then that contributes to the lack of home ownership. You might say that other places also have that, but this is just, again, one component. The other thing is Nevada has a strong service industry. Okay, so service industry, maybe that means that we have people that are not in a professional field. So because they're not a professional field, again, those are more transient positions, and that might contribute to lower home ownership rate. Education, Nevada does not rank very high for education.
We're not in the top 50.
No. So again, education, that also translates into financial literacy, and again, that plays into home ownership. So there are all kinds of different nuances, and I haven't touched on everything, but those are just some of the things that play into home ownership.
You know what's interesting about this chart, and I'll talk a second about some more of the Nevada stuff one I was talking about here. They draw what's like a trend line, and in this case, what the trend line is it's the median across this chart, and it has to be a straight line. And then they basically you draw the chart so that half of the dots are above and half are below, right? This trend line on this chart, if you're looking right above us, where New York and California is where the trend line would start, and it would go down to the right toward West Virginia, maybe maybe a hair above West Virginia. Now, what that means is that the more income, the higher income your state has in general, the lower percentage chance, like it's positively correlated toward the more income your state has, the lower homeownership rate, or you could say it's negatively correlated between income and homeownerships, meaning that if you live in a poor state, you have or a state with low income, you have a higher chance of being a homeowner. Now, people will say, yeah, but West Virginia, you can go buy, there was a thing I read where somebody had bought like 90 acres for
It was a couple $100,000.
a couple $100,000 with a house on it. They're like, how is this possible? This would be like millions of bucks for in the Northeast. So there are differences here. But one of the things I thought was interesting was any state that had large cities, it punished them because the cities tend to be more expensive.
Well, but remember, cities also have something else. They have high population density.
Yeah, right.
So that density, again, it skews those numbers, right?
Yeah, it makes land value more expensive.
It does. It makes land value more expensive. It also, again, plays into some of the things that I talked about as far as having, because you have higher incomes means you've got a higher cost of living, and so it plays into all that. So it's more complex.
So one of the other things, I don't know where they get this number from that Nevada is it's like 61%. We have, first of all, over half of all homes in Nevada or in Vegas, just Vegas, are owned free and clear. Half of all homes in Las Vegas are owned free and clear. We had a phenomenon after the housing crash where homes were incredibly expensive, and investors were inexpensive, and investors flooded the market. And many of you who may be watching may be clients of ours who were some of the people who flooded and bought tons of homes. And of course, we bought homes too. We were flipping homes, but people bought these homes and kind of kept them. So when you look at the actual housing market, you can't look at the 400,000 houses that are in Clark County because, it's 400,000, right? Because those houses don't exist. Because half those houses are never getting transacted, or will not get transacted like a normal thing. So that was an interesting thing, sort of Nevada,
right?
Where you have if you ask anybody, hey, like if you took a poll of people and said, do you have an investment property in another state? And they go, yeah, chances are it'd be in Vegas, right? And Vegas is the 51st state.
Well, so, we do have a lot of investors from out of state, right? Some of them are our clients who own, maybe 5, 6, 10 properties, and they live in another state, maybe a state like California, where incomes are higher. So it is much more affordable for them to purchase investment properties here in Las Vegas than it is in California. So we do have some of that going on. But like Todd said, because we do have so many investor-owned homes, that limits the amount of homes that would be naturally transacted by people moving homes. And so that's part of what's causing that scarcity. And then you have, other places. So I'm going to pick on New York City. New York City has
Pick on them.
New York City has a lot of rent control properties, right? And so that that certainly has an impact on those properties being transacted.
Yeah.
So there are all kinds of reasons beyond the obvious ones that are sometimes very local, like I said, rent control in New York City, or a lot of investor-owned properties here in Las Vegas. So real estate is local, and in this case, it can be hyper local too, as far as what's allowed in that area. We talk about zoning quite a bit, right? Zoning is another reason why real estate might be more expensive, and limit the buyer pool because density is limited, location of where you can build, what you can build is limited, and that sort of thing. So this is a very interesting topic, and I just think it's a very complex topic. There's no one reason to account for this. You have to look beyond the one reason and look at what's happening in that market and all the different components that allow for those wages and that homeownership rate to exist.
Here's the last chart I'm just going to show you real quick. This is more concise because the top graph there, or the top chart, it's actually a table, but it has the lowest 5 states for homeownership rank. So 50, 49, 44, 7. So it's New York, California, Nevada, Hawaii, Massachusetts. Okay. Then it has income rank. So New York, California, and Massachusetts are 3 of the top 6, but they have the lowest home ownership. And then you take the lowest income, which you see over there all the way on the right, 50, 49, 48, 47. And my thing fell off. And then I lost the whole thing. And then the home ownership rank is 3 of them are in the top 9. Mm-hmm. And of course, Alabama, West Virginia, Mississippi, lived in one of those states. I actually got my graduate degree in one of those states. I won't say which one. Kentucky, Arkansas, like literally the top, those are all considered southern states. So maybe West Virginia is not really a southern state, but it's because it's up by there by Virginia.
Right.
But still.
Right. So there are a lot of states that are more conducive to maybe vacation properties too. So maybe I'll name Hawaii in that one, where you've got people that have second homes. Same thing happens in certain places, like for example, Lake Tahoe. Lots of second homes. Las Vegas, lots of second homes again. Mm-hmm. So even though they're not investor owned, they're second homes. So if you take the investor homes and then you add on top of that the second homes, really the people who are occupying homes full time in Las Vegas and that live here full time is actually really not that great. So that's again one of those reasons why we have higher real estate prices maybe than we should compared to our income, because we just have a relatively small pool of homes. And then, we also have, in Las Vegas in particular, the builders got hurt during 2008 to 2010, 2011 time frame. So they got hurt with that. So they really almost stopped building altogether for a decade. Yep. So while we continue to grow, so again, that put pressure on home prices because we have limited inventory.
We are tens of thousands of housing units short in Las Vegas. Give you perspective, the last listing that we had that just closed day before yesterday is sold relatively quickly, even though it was for sort of a low-end property. But have we had anything recently not sell within a month? Like not go under contract within a month?
So homes are selling relatively quickly. We know we do have a great amount of inventory than we've had in a while, but that's natural for this time of year.
Okay. It's like we're 20, this just city of Las Vegas is like 2,400, right?
I don't remember what the numbers are. What I am seeing is that, throughout the market, we have homes selling relatively quickly. Inventory is building, like I said, but that's natural for this time of year. And Las Vegas is in this expansion mode at this point. I mean, I know Las Vegas has been in expansion mode for the last 50 years. I do understand that. Yeah. But it is in a very unique expansion mode, I think, right now. It is an expansion mode on the upper end. It's not... Las Vegas generally has kind of expanded kind of throughout the different price points. Mm-hmm. but I think it's in a particularly interesting expansion now as far as the upper end, because we are attracting right now a lot of people from out of state that are high income earners. We're attracting business owners. We're attracting a lot of professionals. We of course have all the sports teams, which bring with them a lot of professionals beyond the athletes themselves. A lot of people that support those athletes into the area, and those are high income earners. We've got maybe a movie studio coming to town. Those are high income earners.
Yeah.
We have lots of technology in Las Vegas. I know you don't think of Las Vegas for that, but we have lots of technology in Las Vegas. Those are high income earners. So Las Vegas is in this expansion throughout the different price points, but in particular in the higher price points. So it's an interesting time to be in Las Vegas.
Yeah, it's almost like a tale of two cities. Because when I grew up, it was a lot of workers. My parents were workers. Everyone in our neighborhood were workers. We don't really have many professionals in the neighborhood I grew up in. And the idea is, you got out of high school and you parked cars or worked as a busboy or whatever. And
so
then
I think when you say workers, you're talking about the service industry.
Service industry, low-end workers, unskilled labor, meaning blue collar. So the idea of a blue collar job means any person could do it. I get this thing where you get some like welder who's in a union goes, oh, I'm just a blue collar worker. You're not blue collar if you're a welder. It's a highly skilled field. You're a white collar. We're not talking about unionized. Unionized doesn't mean blue collar, and wearing a white shirt to work doesn't mean you're white collar. A blue collar literally is unskilled, meaning you can take any person, put them in the job. Hey, this is how you take the fries out of the thing and you put them over here and you put salt on them. That's blue collar. Anything skilled is white collar. The only skilled jobs we really had were like dealing cards, right? I mean, that was literally considered skilled labor back then. It has changed substantially here. Like Juan has said, the demographics have changed, but we still have this underlying, people who just go to work and do their thing, and they just have jobs, and they go, to the casinos and they work in the restaurants and they do stuff like that. But then we have this, like Juan has said, this other layer of people who have caused this massive influx of money that demand these luxury homes. Juan is the broker for a luxury company, and she sees these super high-end homes like every day that are transacting. They're coming on the market and they're selling, and it didn't exist 15 years ago. We've sold 3,000 houses in the last 20 years, and I remember we had a couple years where we were doing like 600-700 a year, and the median sales price was like 170, 160 maybe. We had some investors come in, buy 50 houses under 100,000 each. Mm-hmm. Those houses today would be about 400 grand that you could have bought for 90 grand about 15 years ago, 400 grand. So demographics have definitely, not just prices have gone up, but demographics have changed substantially.
Right. So it's a complex picture out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of fun to share these graphs with you. Tell us where you're watching from and what's going on in your neck of the woods. We're always interested. Mm-hmm. This was interesting to us because it kind of let us play around with what's going on in a broader sense throughout the country. So we thought that might be interesting for you too. But we know that you're watching from lots of different places. So tell us what's happening where you are and what you think is causing home values and salaries to be what they are where you are. We're certainly not experts in every market, so we love hearing from you. Please leave us comments, like the video and subscribe, hit the notification bell, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.